Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talos of Tech, live on Twitch. Hope you had a nice weekend, whatever. I'm angry, okay? I had a hard time sleeping last night, and it's mainly not because of my Apple Watch. My Apple Watch did not tell me how to sleep. It did not tell me that I didn't sleep. I know I didn't sleep well, and you know why I didn't sleep well? It's because I was kept up late by a joke that's been echoing in my ears for over a decade. It's, in my opinion, one of the dumbest jokes humanity has ever made. And it's about Apple, so it does relate here. Okay, this is still tech related. It relates to Apple, which is mainly all we talk about here, but I personally think this is one of the dumbest jokes in all of Apple's history of jokes. We've had lots of different Apple jokes throughout the years, some made by Apple themselves, some made by fans, some made by critics, lots made by critics. And I personally think, will Apple Car have windows? Is the dumbest freaking joke that sucks monkey butt more than any other joke I've ever heard in my life. Knowing this is going on YouTube, I will not use foul language, but just know in my mind I'm using it, okay? First of all, Braden and Mason, thank you for the Twitch Prime for 7 months. Second of all, this is a stupid joke. Because for one, yes, Apple makes computers like the Mac that run Mac OS or OS 10 before it was referred to as Mac OS, OS 9 before that. You know, they've been making their own operating systems, but guess what? For well over a decade, Apple has supported Boot Camp, which allows you to put Windows on your Mac. Okay? So if you can put Windows on your Mac, then what's the whole joke about? What's the whole baseline of the person? Will it support Windows? Are you trying to insinuate that Apple doesn't support Windows? Because they do. I mean, Parallels has been a thing. And Craig Federighi's even said that with the Apple Silicon Mac, it's up to Microsoft if Windows is supported or not. Second of all, yes, the Apple Car would support Windows because you have to be able to look outside of it. Apple loves their glass. Look at the Apple TV remote, okay? They love slapping glass where it doesn't even belong, right? So, of course, they would have glass on the car. Stupid question in the first place. Third, yes, Apple supports Windows on their own hardware. Fourth, cars do not run desktop-class operating systems, okay? CarPlay is just, at best, running like a heavily modified version of Linux, all right? So if we're going to be building a new operating system for the electric Apple Car, personally, I don't think it's coming out. But even if it did, it would not be running Mac OS. So what's the whole debate? Not third. This is fourth. How many points am I on now? You guys got to help me keep track. This is my fourth or fifth point. Why the crap are we even asking if the Apple Car would have Windows? Because Windows 10 kind of sucks. No one actually likes Windows 10. They have done They have done scientific studies on this. After polling 9 billion people, Bloomberg reported that 0 out of 9 billion people genuinely enjoyed Windows 10. The only thing people like about Windows 10 is that it supports programs they're required to use, whether it be games, whether it be game platforms, whether it be third-party software that they have to use for school or work. They have to use Windows because that's the open standard that everyone adopts for. But Windows 10 itself, trash. There's random software update. You know how many times Windows 10 crashes? So why the heck would you ask if you want to put Windows on the Apple Car unless you want the car itself to crash, which I don't think we want. It wouldn't be safe. Wouldn't be great for insurance, knowing how Apple is with right to repair and all that crap. So if you crash your Apple Car, they're basically going to want to replace the whole dang thing. No. Windows 10. Yes, Windows has not gotten better. Windows 10 is a war crime. That is correct. Nobody actually loves Windows 10. Everyone just says it gets the job done. Thank you, Xbox1, for the 100 bits. This is serious, guys. Scott S3, thank you for the Twitch Prime for 26 months. It's a long-time commitment. And I bet Scott would not be able to subscribe with Twitch Prime for 26 months if he had to exclusively use Windows 10. Windows 10 was a nightmare for me. For one, driver corruption. Okay? So if we're going to make jokes about the Apple Car and Windows, why are we not addressing good thing the Apple Car won't be running Windows? Otherwise, there would be driver corruption. Something that happened to me countless times with any PC I tried to buy. Be in the middle of something. Hey, we got to update right now. No, you can't delay this update. We have to install it right now. And by the time the update is done, your drivers are going to be corrupted. Your webcam doesn't work anymore. And if Apple wants to develop an autonomous driving vehicle, those cameras better work pretty well. If it was running Windows, not only would the system crash, the car would crash. And not only would the driver be corrupted, the drivers would be corrupted. How many more jokes can we make? Steeringwheel.exe has stopped working. Exactly, Simon. This is what happened. Leo says the wheels driver can crash and they just pop off in the middle of your road trip. This is why no one cares about Microsoft making an autonomous vehicle. Has anyone noticed that? We're all curious about Google Waymo. We're curious about Tesla, robo-taxis, and now there's rumors brewing of Apple developing their own car, but no one wants Microsoft to make a car, because who cares? They're not Windows. They're ultra-transparent glass panels. Yeah, it's totally different. Scott says, Drew, I had to use Windows 10 for a class last semester. It was rough. I used to think Catalina was bad. Windows 10 made me miss Catalina every darn time. See what I mean? We have done the research. We have found the evidence that no one likes Windows. And Apple would likely want to make their ultra tough, super durable glass they put in the iPhones on the car. So no, they would not be Windows. They would be same kind of stuff they're putting in the Cybertruck. Transparent aluminum. It's metal that you can see through. It's not a window. And thank God the Apple Car wouldn't run Windows, because that would make it a terrible experience. So this joke is flawed on every level. All 5, right? Every joke has around 5 to 6 layers. This joke, incorrect from the beginning, because if your joke is Apple doesn't support Windows, guess what they do? You can put Windows on a Mac. Boot camp has been a thing for a long time. Secondly, Windows sucks, would not result in a better experience for the car. Third, we're not putting desktop class operating systems. I have the Apple Pencil here. I'm crossing off the lists. Third, Apple Car would not run desktop class operating system. They would design a proprietary piece of software, CarPlay Plus, or an enhanced version of CarPlay. So Windows is not up for debate. It would be like asking why the Apple Car doesn't have watchOS. It's like, because it's not a watch. So why would we put desktop class software on a car? The software's got to be built differently. Fourth, Windows 10 crashes and has driver corruption, which would heavily impact the driving experience of the vehicle. And fifth, of course, the car would have glass on it, because pretty much every Apple product has some type of glass on it. And this, of course, you have to look out it. So this is, on every layer, stupid. And I know some of you are probably thinking, Drew, it's just a dumb little joke. It's just a little pun. It's supposed to make people chuckle to themselves a little bit. It's not that big a deal. It is a big deal, okay? It's these types of jokes that have gotten humanity where we are today. Okay, this type of mindless, endless, stupid thinking is the reason we have bad TV shows. It's the reason we have bad jokes. It's the reason we have a wasteful, unoriginal, toxic part of the internet that thinks they're funny. I hate it. I hate this joke so much. It kept me up late last night. I was literally taking notes in my head as I was trying to fall asleep, thinking, wow, I can't believe a joke is so bad. It's so bad. I can't even wrap my brain around how incorrect this joke is. I don't get... Okay. I also like to point out Apple stores have Windows, and no one has the interest has ever gone. Has Apple stores have Windows? Thank you, Scott. Okay, we have the 6th list. I listed the first 5. Now the 6th reason. Apple has had Windows on their stores, and no one's made that joke until December 30th of 2020. Here we are. Scott just made the joke. First person. And yet it's 13 years of people joking about Mac supports Windows. Who else has seen the stupid meme of a MacBook propping up a window and said, hey, look, this Mac supports Windows. Guess what, you idiot? You can put Windows on your Mac. That's been a thing for a very long time. Absolute garbage. Absolute trash. Very complex. Thank you for the bits. Once you go Mac, you never go back. Very true. And Mike, I want the record to know that I have not had a single drip of eggnog this holiday season. Yes, I celebrated the holidays, but there was no eggnog around. Not joking. It's just literally there wasn't any. Didn't have any. I like eggnog, but there's no one bought any. The joke is, for those coming in, the joke that I hate for multitudes of levels. I hate this joke in 5 dimensions. Yeah, 4th dimension being time, 5th dimension being color. I hate this. I hate this joke in every possible way. The joke is, will the Apple car have windows? First of all, Apple supports Windows. Second of all, of course it would. Got to look out it. Apple puts glass on their products. Third, Windows 10 sucks. Fourth, they would not put desktop class operating systems in a car. They would design a different type of vehicle. Fifth, no one's made the joke about Apple stores having Windows for the longest time. And sixth, Windows 10 has terrible driver corruption problems. Your car would probably quit and start restarting in the middle of a road trip because you need to update right this second. And no one actually likes Windows 10. That's just a fact. And I'm being sarcastic in case you couldn't tell. It's way too overdone. This joke is old. That's why I hate it in the 4th dimension, is that people are still making this joke years later. I'm still seeing people make this tweet and make this YouTube comment in December of 2020. And this joke has literally been around since 2007, 2006 probably. Would an Apple car run on apple juice? No. It would be batteries. They don't put apple juice in batteries, complex. You should know this. Will the Apple car ever crash like Windows? No. The Apple car will never crash. You know why? Is it because CarPlay Plus is so stable and reliable? No, actually, it's because the Apple car won't exist, which is what makes this joke infinitely more stupid. It's been made for 13 years and the car still hasn't come out. I hate this joke so much. I'm just imagining what the world of this planet could be like if that joke was never made. I bet the pandemic never would have happened. And I bet AirPods Max would have had USB-C, and they would have started at $299, and the iPhones would have ProMotion, and the iPad would have external monitor support, all because of this joke. This joke is single-handedly responsible for every bad decision humanity has made. And I want to get to the bottom of it, okay? We've got, how many? We have 8 million people watching right now, roughly. I'm just rounding up a little bit. 8 million people watching. I bet 1 out of 8 million of you guys could go back in time, search through some old YouTube videos, or search through some old blog posts, and try your best to figure out who exactly made this joke first. Who genuinely made this. They didn't hear it from someone else. They legitimately crafted it in their own brain and decided to poison humanity with it at some point, at least 11, 12 years ago. Find that person and show them to me. And we will fix the timeline. I'm pretty sure if we go back through history, we'll find the fulcrum point. You know, the point where humanity completely fell off the face of the earth. And I think it will all be tied back to this joke. I think it'll genuinely all stem back to this. I know I've mentioned the joke in my older videos, but it's because I was making fun of the joke about how stupid it is and how old it is. I was not the creator, trust me. I read that joke long before I made a single YouTube video. Katrina says you could use cider vinegar in batteries, though not the best choice. Yeah, I don't think so. Not a good choice. Matthew says my Mac Pro is running Windows. It's got wheels on it. I stand on it and ride it down the street like a skateboard. Wouldn't that be an Apple vehicle running Windows? Yeah. Yes, it would. Scott says, flashback to lab in China, 2019. Guy 1. Hey, if Apple made a car, would it have windows? Guy 2 in lab. Groans and drops coronavirus on the floor. And that is how the pandemic started. Goes to before that, even. Before that, because this joke's been around a lot longer. I think it was the stem of the 2008 recession. The real estate market crash. I think there's a very good case that the real estate market crash was a direct result of that Apple car joke. Okay? Apple car won't have keys. It will have AirTags. I hope that Apple would be smart enough to know to just do what Tesla did and just unlock the car when the phone gets close to it. But knowing it's Apple, they probably would do something stupid and mess it up. Wouldn't shock me. Neum, thank you for the 25 bits. He says, I think macOS and what did I say? WindowOS? It's the operating system of the wind. Windows are both trash. Team iPadOS is ironic it's ironic, Drew, how far I've come. I remember kid me begging my parents for a MacBook was my dream forever while I was going through my episodes. The iPad kept getting better and better. I wouldn't want any other laptop ever again. What's a computer? iPadOS is pretty great. I do need external monitor support and Final Cut, and then it would be a MacBook replacement for me. But at this point, not quite. It's still a more enjoyable laptop experience for me, but the only reason a MacBook would still have a bit more purpose is for Final Cut and also probably OBS, the fact that I can plug in this cam link into my Mac and use it as a streaming device. If I could do that with my iPad, that would be pretty great. All right. Okay, that's my rant. End of rant. 20 minutes it took me. I did my rant. Yes, some of it was made up. Some of it was sarcasm for the sake of comedy. But part of it comes from a real, there's a little bit of realism in that joke about how tired I am of it. And I just want to be on the record of how annoyed I am by that joke and why it bothers me. Because of how many different reasons. I get the basis. A lot of jokes don't have much complexity to them, but this joke in particular just rubbed me the wrong way. Opposed to a joke rubbing me the right way. That just sounds wrong. Never say that again, Drew. So, in other news, in more uplifting news, opposed to live rants and Drew not appreciating decade-old jokes, this is our last Twitch stream of the year. I will not be live tomorrow. I typically do, when I am working, I'll do Twitch streams every other day. Obviously, I've been on break for a while, but I figured this is going to be the last one. And I'll probably, what day is today? Wednesday? I'll probably end up streaming Friday. So I'm likely going to end up having the first stream of 2021 in just a couple days. Man, that sounds weird. Something about 2021 sounds so futuristic. Apple-shaped steering wheel. Does that mean the steering wheel is the shape of an apple? Man, that's pretty weird. Yeah, I would never do a Apple sheep overdrive video just about the joke. Maybe I should have, but I figured it would make for a better live stream anyway. WindowOS breaks when a hurricane happens. Thank you for the dime. Or tornado. Yeah, that's a good one. Mike says 2021 predictions video coming soon. I wasn't planning on it, but now after reacting to my 2020 predictions, I think people are going to start to expect that to become a recurring thing. So I probably should do a predictions video just because we know it's not going to age very well, or sometimes it'll age bizarrely well, like it's time for the Great Depression joke again. There was no way of me knowing what was going to happen Just for the record, I know there were cases of COVID in 2019, but I was not paying attention to it at all when I recorded that, because that video, I was actually out of town. I was out of state last New Year's, and when that 2020 predictions video dropped, I had actually made it like several weeks before. It was around, I think, December 15th or 16th when I uploaded that video. And I had no clue COVID was a thing at all, not in the slightest. I know there was cases back then, but I didn't watch that type of news. Pretty much the only news I pay attention to is like Apple and Tesla and their competitors. That's pretty much the extent of my, like, in Apple news, I unchecked all of the like top news stories. I don't really follow politics. I don't follow Congress. I don't follow the election. None of that stuff is interesting to me. So I can confidently tell you that way back when, I had no clue the pandemic was going to be a thing. I had no way of knowing. So it was very bizarre that that ended up becoming a dark but relevant joke a year later. So I'm trying to think of another dark but relevant joke I could bake into the predictions video. But maybe that's the key, is that you're not supposed to predict it. You're just supposed to throw in some afterthought joke, and then it just so happens to become relevant. But what is there really to predict? I mean, can we talk about that for a second? I mean, iPhones are going to be boring. Maybe Touch ID comes back. Most likely promotion on the Pro model. What else is there? I guess Apple Silicon. In 2018 to 2019, there was a lot of articles that kept predicting a recession soon. Yeah, but to be honest, very complex. I've pretty much, as long as I can remember, I remember people telling me that a recession was about to happen ever since, like, the 2008 recession recovered. It was like 2009, 2010, 2011. I start hearing people say, you know, oh, there's going to be another big recession. There's going to be another big recession. You know, obviously, if people are constantly predicting a crash or a recession every year, some of them are going to end up being right. But there's a lot of people constantly trying to predict that. Neum donated 20 bits, says, jealous of you, Drew. You get a New Year's Eve kiss as a single Pringle. Single Pringle. I find TikTok couples to be insufferable, so tell Louise I say thank you for not shoving your relationship in my face, but just the mere thought is triggering me because people make a big deal of New Year's kiss. I'm going to be asleep New Year's Eve. I just want a cute boyfriend, but everyone's closeted. It feels bad, man. I'm sorry, Neum. He's out there. Give it some time. But yes, I do agree with you. I'm very lucky to have Louise, and I'm very thankful that Louise has some type of vision issue, and she doesn't realize what a ugly slob I am. Some kind of mental, some kind of disorder in her eyesight has made her think that I'm a good-looking dude. But yeah, I'm lucky to have her with me because she is incredibly out of my league. So, and I'm very grateful that she works from home now, so I can see her more often. Hey, Drew, no more predictions, okay? All right, Ace Rockala says don't predict anymore. All right. New designs for MacBooks and iMacs. iMacs I'm pretty sure about. MacBooks not so sure about. I mean, the reports are fairly conflicting. We've got some saying they're going to adopt mini LED on the iPad Pro. Sorry, not iPad Pro. Well, that too. But the MacBook Pros by the end of 2020, while others are saying regular boring old MacBooks by the beginning of 2021. So, yeah, are they going to do 2 MacBook refreshes in 1 year? I don't know. Feels weird. Scott says MagSafe Duo 2. The only difference is since we all complain about the charging method, it will now charge via 30-pin. No cable in the box either. Enjoy buying the $40 USB-C to 30-pin cable. I want to see the 30-pin to USB-C. Is that a thing? Has someone ever made that? Only missing feature would be Apple Pencil support. On what? Oh, the next iPad mini. iPad mini sounds like it's going to be pretty amazing. It's basically going to be a 4x3 iPhone with a crappy camera. Other than that, though, other than the camera, it will probably end up being a really, really great iPhone replacement. If you wanted to. Like, I remember reading that report that they were working on like an 8.5-inch display version of the iPad mini that was going to have Face ID. Was it going to have Face ID? I can't remember. I just remember it wouldn't have a home button. So equal, symmetrical bezel design on the front. Sadly, still charges through Lightning, but you would have a split screen, capable. It would be like an iPhone running iPad OS, and you could do a lot with it. The only downside, of course, would be no MagSafe, no wireless charging, probably no IP rating, and no. It's okay camera, not a great camera on the back, but yeah, Drew's 100% track record. Do you keep your wife awake late at night with rants about Apple Car and Windows jokes? I don't. I keep those in here where they belong until I go live, and then I share them with the internet so that they can be never forgotten. And you guys can always hold it against me. Should I pull a Drew and switch to YouTube Music for my music since I already have premium? I would recommend trying it. Maybe don't cancel your Apple Music right away, but just try it out and see if you can get comfortable with it. Because honestly, there's a lot of great perks. I mean, we brag a lot about our tech these days, and us in the tech community, like, I got this iPad, I got this keyboard, I got this phone, and we love bragging about all of our stuff. But honestly, the people who can get by with less, and the people who can be satisfied and comfortable and content with cheaper hardware, that's to their advantage. There's no downside to being happy and comfortable with cheaper stuff, because they get to spend less money and still be happy and enjoy the hardware they're using. So same with services. Like, if you are able to get by with YouTube Music because you already have premium and you don't pay for Apple Music, and YouTube Music covers the basics for you, and you're able to still listen to all the music you care about, that's to your advantage. That's an extra $8 to $10 a month you get to save now, and you could put that towards something else. Put it towards Disney Plus and watch all 50 Star Wars shows coming out in the next 2 weeks. It's to your advantage if you can get by with less. So I would never fault someone or shame someone for being content and happy with something that was cheaper. When people are content and happy with something that costs them more, I'm like, okay, your loss, your funeral. I would tell most people AirPods Max aren't worth it, and I don't think you should buy AirPods Max. But if you're like, no, I like them, I appreciate them, it's like, okay, your loss. If you require that out of headphones, then you're paying the big old fat Apple tax for it. But if someone can get by with cheap old, I don't know, either Braven headphones like this, or Surface headphones, or Bose, or XM4, if you can get by with those, all the better to you. Or basic regular AirPods. I wore these on my run yesterday, and these are great. I love the sound on them. I think I noticed it yesterday too, because I pretty much only I only wear these when I go running, and I think I prefer the sound quality of the original AirPods over AirPods Pro, which is weird because I know a lot of audiophiles and YouTubers were saying AirPods Pro sound much better and they're way better audio quality. But I was just thinking, like, maybe audio quality truly is way more subjective than people make it out to be. It's not exactly an objective thing to rate and review. Like, it might be possible, and I think reasonable, to assume that a lot of people prefer the sound of cheaper headphones just because of how they're balanced and how they're equalized internally, and they try on expensive over-ears and they're like, it just doesn't sound as good, really. Scott says he got Bose 700s for $199 from the Bose store refurbished. Fantastic, just like brand new, and not $550. I like how you said that, not referencing AirPods Max at all. And they're not $550. I don't know where I got that number from. I just pulled it out thin air. But we need to push back on the subscription apocalypse. Yes, thank you, Very Complex. That's where a lot of my logic is coming from, because some people are saying he's not an Apple sheep, or you're not really biased towards Apple when you go against all their services, and you don't like TV Plus, you don't like Fitness Plus, you don't like Fitness Plus. Really confuses me. I just don't understand it at all. But again, I'm the type of guy who doesn't pay for gyms and doesn't like the idea of paying to work out. It's like you're paying for gravity. That's what you do when you buy weights. You're paying something to be heavy, which just feels weird to me. But yeah, there's way too many companies and industries getting into the services model right now, where they just slowly chip away at your bank account to the point that you're going to have so many services you're barely using any of them, but they're still charging you once a month. So we need to be more proactive and try harder, I think, to resist the subscription wave, because it's going to get worse. This is not just a phase, okay? This is probably going to be the future of tech companies in general. They're going to start pushing more and more monthly costs of hardware. They're going to push more services on you. And if their new services they came up with don't work, then they're going to start turning what once was free into services. You know, I just like we need to resist this whole chip away at our bank account strategy as much as possible. So I would say get rid of as many monthly subscriptions as you can. That, if you use them, it's one thing. I'm not just saying, if you like Apple Music and you pay for Apple Music, cancel it. You shouldn't like it anymore. No, I'm just saying, like, if you're not using it, really take a look at your finances, because that's where these companies are making butt tons of money, is when they're charging you for something you're not utilizing. And I do fear and worry that there's a lot of us out there paying for things we're not utilizing. Even this Twitch stream, I know there's a lot of you out there that subscribe at a tier 1 sub, and I appreciate it. It's very kind of you to want to support me monthly like that, but honestly, how often do you really watch me? And how much time have you wasted watching Taylosive? Like, you're like, oh, he's funny, he made me laugh that one time in a video, I'm going to check out his latest video, and then you watch it and you're like, I didn't laugh. That wasn't funny. So, okay, that video wasted some time, but that just think about it before you start subscribing to either Twitch or Patreon and that kind of thing. Just think about how much you utilize that. Don't worry about me, for the record. I know I'm trying to convince you guys to not give me money. It sounds very backwards, but I'll be okay. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Like what Adobe did. Yes, exactly what Adobe did. I would not be shocked. I'm predicting this now. I think I've brought it up in podcasts. I would not be shocked if Apple ends up deciding to turn Final Cut in Logic or Xcode into monthly subscription things. Like, maybe they make it a better deal if you've already paid for it. But what Adobe had been doing was, like, every year they would come out with a version of their software that they would sell either individually or as a complete package. And every year they would come out with another package and another package. But then Creative Cloud came out, and they started just being like, okay, here's a monthly cost for everything, and you'll get continuous updates, and you just pay for it every year, all year. And what if Apple starts doing that? They're putting in, like, I'm not saying it'll be as expensive as Adobe, so they'll probably still be able to make a financial argument against Adobe, because Creative Cloud is pretty expensive. I mean, when you're a student, it can start out pretty cheap when it's like, oh, it's only cost me $10 or $15 a month, but the whole plan of getting you on the student deal is to get you comfortable with it. You take courses on it, you take classes on it, and then you never want to cancel it, because that's now your livelihood and that's your business. So that's when they up it. That's exactly what they did to me when I had the student plan for a while, and I was like, this isn't so bad. And then when I got out of the student discount, then they started upping it to $30, $40, $50 a month. And they're like, oh, you need it though. You got to keep paying for it. So Apple, I don't think will do that. But if they, Final Cut Pro still gets updates, still gets software support. But if at some point along the way Apple decides, hey, we're going to announce Final Cut Pro Plus, and it's not going to be a lot. I would guess it to be somewhere around $5 a month. So it's not even much, right? It would be significantly cheaper than Adobe Premiere and that stuff. But it would still be like, okay, you're going to get more features, and we're going to give you more title effects, and we're going to give you some more screen animations if you subscribe to Final Cut Plus, and we'll add in all these extra perks to Final Cut that'll justify. Oh, geez, my camera went off. I totally forgot to plug it in. One sec. One second. I guess I can default to the webcam in the meantime. Hey everyone, this is what the iMac Pro looks like. So yeah, universities and colleges and stuff will give away services for free to get you hooked on them, but then they're assuming you're eventually going to end up paying for them. Drew After Dark. It's just Drew is dark now. Let's see. I also hate how Office is a subscription now. Just let me buy and own Word, please. Yeah, Microsoft is. I don't understand why people pay for that. I can't stand that. Um, like text editing stuff. Like people will pay for Microsoft Word monthly because it has like one little spacing option that their university requires. And they're like, "Oh, Google Docs doesn't have this 1.5789 spacing format, so therefore you can't use it and you have to spend all this money or or they'll include it with your tuition or whatever." But yeah, I hate that model. I just feel like that type of software should not be. It shouldn't cost money to just write documents. I don't know. It seems so simple that I don't know why we're charging for it. There we go. Um, let's see. I use Affinity now. Dumped Adobe. Yeah, I use Affinity too for photo stuff. If I can buy something outright, I'll take it. Now everyone likes the webcam. We can keep it on the webcam. I can switch it back and forth. It's probably the lighting. I'm looking at Twitch. It's interesting. It looks the same to me, actually. I don't know what y'all are talking about. Quality is set to auto. You had it set to M for... I don't like the colors, actually. Twitch, like, desaturates the stream quality quite a bit. Oh, y'all can see my sword. 100 bits from Chris Norton. My PC worked, and then I got Windows 10, and my PC broke. I've been there, Chris. That happened to my PC, too. I'm sorry for laughing. To be fair, Google Docs is garbage with citations, but I would never pay for Office. iWork is better. I don't know. I don't do citations, I guess, with my text editing, but yeah, I wouldn't pay for Office either. Scott says, my university gives us Office 365 for free, but then if you want to access any of your stuff after you graduate, you have to have Office 365 yourself. That sucks. I hate that model. That's why I never did anything with Office growing up in college and high school. Even if they asked me to, I would ignore them. Yeah, iWork is free. They don't charge for Pages and Keynote and all that stuff. But honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they decided, we better start we better start working on that. We better start working on iWork Plus and start making their own Office apps. You like the white chair? The chair you can't sit in because the TV is occupying it? This is half a storage room at this point. We got all this monitors and crap on the floor. Why don't more people use iWork? I found out iWork isn't part of the Apple ecosystem. Probably because it's not on Windows by default. So just people aren't used to it. Most colleges and high schools and stuff will literally just use Office because that's what the teachers and professors grew up with. And that's what they were taught to use, and they don't want to have to learn how to do something else. So that's literally why they keep it around. Pages is a fantastic app. All of my high school assignments were done on Pages. Yeah, I still have all mine, bizarrely. They're not taking up much space in iCloud, so I just figured, why delete them? Oh, I'm going to tweet that anyway. Hi, man. Hi, Mort. Let's see. Also, people forget this, but Apple has dramatically decreased the price and availability of their software professional products. Final Cut used to be updated every 2 years or so, and a cost of $1,000. I don't remember that. Now you buy it once and you get lifetime updates. iLife was updated every January, and you had to pay $99 for it. Now all of that is included for free with every one of their products. It is now, but I think that was what happened when they started changing their orientation to be more towards hardware, and they were making more money from the iPhone. You know, like pre-iPhone, the Mac was pretty much their best seller, you know. So selling Macs and selling software for the Mac was kind of a big part of their business. But when the iPhone took off, that became a larger part, and the iPod as well. iPod and iPhone started making up the bulk of their revenue. So at that point, it didn't really make sense to push more services on people. But now, as smartphone sales are starting to plateau, it's starting, I think, becoming more. I think it's starting to become more of a services company. So I feel like they might go back to that original start. Same with iLife. Start a Taylosive fitness channel. I, of all people, should not be one to start a fitness channel. I'm the opposite. You can export in docx and Pages. Oh, there you go. There's your answer. Let's see. Colleges require .x format for basically everything you turn in. In high school, we just printed and turned everything in. Yeah, I didn't. It was bizarre how many essays and projects we had to turn in with a physical piece of paper in high school. I kept saying how much of a waste of paper it was because they kept. I can't remember who, but I remember one teacher requiring us to type out a rough draft and print it and turn it in, and then type out and print a final draft. You know, most of the time growing up, it was like you write out a rough draft and then you type the final draft. But one teacher was like, type out the rough draft and then type out the final draft and print. And it had to be a certain number of pages too. I was just like, we are wasting an insane amount of paper. Why don't you just let me email this stuff in? And they were like, no, it's harder to grade that way. Because, you know, the teacher doesn't know how to make edits or make little alterations on an email that, you know, they needed. You got to use my red pen. I'm used to the red pen and I got to circle the mistakes. And what I ended up doing was I would just write one draft to make it the final draft because I was never a rough and final draft type of person. I was always like, I'm just going to write it all and make it the way I like it. And then if you want a rough draft, I'm just going to take the final draft and add a bunch of mistakes in. I know that sounds terrible, but that's something I did. That's like, I don't know. It just felt like a waste of time to me. I was like, okay, just write out a version on the computer and then print it out. And then I'm going to add a bunch of mistakes, or not mistake. I'm going to correct a bunch of mistakes and then you write out the final draft. So I would just start with the final draft and then add a bunch of mistakes and turn in that for the rough draft and then call it a day. I was for the easy way out. Oh, Scott did the same thing. My final draft is the rough draft with proofreading. That's the dumb thing, though. That's the one teacher we had would want us to proofread the rough draft and turn it. It's like, what do you want me to change on the final draft? It's like we were basically printing the same essay twice. Yeah, it was a waste of time. My English instructor requires DocX but uses Acrobat to mark up. I don't get it. That's stupid. Let's see. Do you spend as much money on Apple stock as you do Apple products, Drew? Do you have Twitter CEO's Money app, Cash App, gives you a debit card routing and accounting number for direct deposit from employer, and you can buy, sell Bitcoin? I don't buy or sell Bitcoin. I'm just not into the whole crypto thing. Y'all can enjoy it if you have crypto, but it's just, I don't know. It's not, I know it's not backed by anything, which is why I have my doubts in it. It's just the value of it's all over the place, which is why I have a hard time wanting to invest in it. And it's so new. It's different from the stock market because the stock market's been around for decades and there's general trends we can follow through on, and it's backed by things that are a bit more stable, whereas crypto is so new and so unproven. It's very easy to just look at the chart and be like, see, if you bought here, you would have way more here. And it's like, but it's not proven, you know, at any moment it can still tank. And it's not really based on anything. It's like a stock with no business around it. You know, it's like it's a stock that can go severely down or severely up at any time and without much history. If crypto had been around for a couple of decades and had been consistently going upwards, then I would have a bit more faith in it. But currently right now, it's very all over the place. It's 10 years is ancient in tech terms, but it's not ancient in finance and, you know, investment terms. Like, it'll go up like crazy and then it'll go down like crazy. That's what it's been doing. Whereas the stock market, you can go back and look at, you know, 30, 40 years and be like, okay, there's a general trend here. But Bitcoin is like about 10 years to go off of, and the value of it is all over the place. That's been the consistency with it, is that it's unpredictable. It's all over. It's like it'll go way up and it'll go way down. And you have no clue when it's going to go down or up. So crypto moves 24/7, and I don't like that since your assets can tank in the middle of the night. Yeah, that's not my main concern. But it's also just complicated. I looked into it a few years back. I think I bought a little and sold it, but I don't have it anymore. But it was just a very complicated process. The whole crypto wallet thing and the whole... You have 0.000000298 of a share or whatever. You know, it's like, it's bizarre. And there's fees, and yeah, there's fees with stocks in general, but I don't know. It's like anytime I hear about a scam, there's crypto links and there's crypto. It feels like anytime someone wants to scam people, they use cryptocurrency. And there are, I'm sure, people who have made quite a lot of money from crypto, and I'm sure, you can go look at the crypto chart and be like, wow, it's gone up a lot in this amount of time, or it's done this or that. But um, I stick with stocks. And no, to answer your question, I don't invest a ton in Apple stock. Uh, I just we focus more on high dividend index funds, that kind of thing. So it's nothing exciting. It's just very stable and reliable. Uh, Not super risky, but occasional stuff we invest in that's a bit more up in the air, but not insane amounts. Get free Bitcoin. Just send me 1,000 Bitcoin. 100% legit, definitely. Yeah, that's how come I always, whenever I hear about Bitcoin, someone's trying to rip someone else off. You can text someone Apple Cash. That's the other thing is there's bots that just have turned me off from Bitcoin, even if it is reliable and in the future is a bit more stable. And that's the thing. The reason it's very hard to back, or the reason that I don't think cryptocurrency, at least in its current state, is probably going to age horribly. But I've done a fair bit of research on crypto. I know a little bit more about it than the average person, um, about mining crypto. I did a little bit of cryptocurrency mining a couple of years back, not any professional grade stuff, just to figure out how the system works. And I did a lot of research on it to try to understand it. It's still fairly confusing, but yeah, the thing I feel like it can't replace the average dollar for most people with is because no one wants the value of their currency, their primary currency that they use to buy food and groceries and pay their rent with. Like, they don't want the value of that fluctuating that heavily. I could maybe see Bitcoin becoming the future if it stabled out. The value of the dollar fluctuates a bit. It'll inflate with time, obviously, and it'll go up and down occasionally. But um, Bitcoin's value is all over the place to the point that it would be very difficult to spend it like and treat it like an actual currency on the internet and buy things with. I know some people do, but um, you wouldn't want to get paid $20 and then wake up tomorrow and now that's worth $5, you know? And I feel like the primary value of Bitcoin is stemmed from people thinking they can make more standard US dollars off of it, not because they actually think Bitcoin is the future. I think there's a bunch of people that are buying into Bitcoin hoping that they can later sell out and turn it into more actual cash, whereas the people who actually created cryptocurrency were trying to make, the future of currency. They wanted it to replace the dollar. They wanted it to replace the currencies we're using between all these different countries and stuff. Whereas I think that's not what most people buying crypto are doing. I think they're trying to get normal stable currency out of it. That way they can back out of crypto at a high price and have a bunch of stable currency. And in the process, they have to invest a lot in an unstable currency. So if the value fluctuates as much as it has been, I don't think it could ever replace the typical dollar. But never invest in something you don't understand. Yeah, that's good logic. That's why I tried to understand it best I could before I invested in it. But I didn't put a lot in. I think I put in like a couple $100. It was currency I would be comfortable just completely losing if something went wrong. Thankfully, I did get it back, so I didn't I didn't lose a bunch of money on it or anything. But MC Rich says the whole point of cryptocurrency is to confuse money out of people. It's not a bad theory, to be honest with you. It is very confusing, and I get kind of technical in with Apple products and OLED displays and chip architectures, and I'm when it comes to the average tech YouTuber, I'm not that technical. Someone like Linus Tech Tips or Snazzy Labs, they know way more about computers than I do. But just how many times I've seen innocent looking little simple animation videos that try to explain to people how to cryptocurrency works. Uh, if you show that to the average person, they'll still just finish the video and be like, "What?" I still don't get it. They can watch the same video like 10 times and still have no clue how crypto works. It's very, like, with the whole blockchain process and mining the individual coins and how many different types of cryptocurrency there are. It is, and you can have physical bitcoins too. Like, it is a very complicated thing for the average consumer to understand. It's not as simple as, like, this is a $1 bill, this is a $5 bill, this is a $100 bill. It's like you have 0.00385 bitcoins, which is equivalent to this value for dollar. Yeah, it would not work if it fluctuated this much as a actual currency. And yeah, it works on the dark web pretty well because I think it's easier to. Well, I've heard people say it is traceable. You can track Bitcoin transactions, but it's a lot easier to hide them or something. Like, that's why the people who hack Twitter and were tweeting out the Bitcoin giveaways across all these different verified Twitter accounts use that Bitcoin donation link because it can't exactly be traced back to them. So it's a lot harder to figure out who it belongs to. For crypto to be successful, I'll wait for it to be as simple as a British sterling pound. I don't know. That would definitely help if it was simpler to just, if they could do kind of how companies do a stock split, how like Tesla and Apple will split the stock, and that means if you had one stock, now you have 5 or now you have 10. If they did like a Bitcoin split where everyone who has one coin now has 10,000, and then it would be a lot easier to understand, like, okay, one Bitcoin equals $1, something to make it less like how many decimal places back do I have to go. Just it's complicated. If you have a physical Bitcoin, it probably is just a coin saying how much you have. Okay. Fair. Hey, Cordless Pizza 111, there's your shout out. You can convert your crypto into different kinds of crypto to anonymize it. There you go. If the Apple Car came out, would you be any interested in it? Of course, I would make videos on it, and I think Apple has one of the, most well-known, largest brands, and, people are very well aware of who Apple is, or kind of a, logo and a company known around the globe. So it would be very interesting. Sure, if the question is simply interested, but that's about it. I think that's about as far as we would get. It would be interesting, but I don't know if I could say much more than it would be interesting. I think if Apple does make a car, Apple's not the type to accept thin profit margins. That's the weird thing about an Apple car. In the automotive space, especially in the EV space, profit margins are very, very thin, and most of the legacy automakers that are trying to make electric vehicles that can compete with Tesla have to lose money on the vehicle. Like, they're spending more money on the car than they actually get out of the purchase price. Tesla is one of the very few EV makers that has found a way to make it profitable, but even then it's very thin, and it required an insane amount of vertical integration. That's how, companies like Samsung are able to put more high quality parts into their phones and make them more compelling than an iPhone because they are very vertically integrated. Samsung builds a lot of their own SSDs. They build a lot of their own displays. They make a lot of their own chips even. So because of that vertical integration, they can easily build high quality phones with high quality parts that outspec iPhones for cheaper. And in a similar way, Tesla is building their own factories, and they're trying to build their own batteries now, and they're building their own chip, and they're being more vertically integrated because the automotive sector has such thin profit margins, particularly with EVs, because they are expensive to build battery packs. Yeah, those automakers still make billions, but it's not from the electric vehicle divisions. The legacy automakers are making a bunch of money because they're still selling traditional gas cars that has had decades and decades of ironing out mass production. So they make all of their money off that, and they're toying around with EVs just to let people know, yes, we can make electric cars, We know how to make electric cars. They can't quite do it as well as Tesla does it, but they can do it. But it's a bleeding division basically. Like, um, I highly doubt Ford is making any money off the Mach E for multitudes of reasons. For one, they're already spending money on advertising the Mach E, which Tesla is not spending any money on ads. But for two, the battery pack in the Mach E is huge. Like the longer range variants of the Mach E have like 100 kWh battery packs, which is like the same size battery they put in the Model S. And it also has like not even that great a range. You know, it's like almost 300, tapping out at around 300 miles. And they're charging like $50,000 for that thing. There's no way that thing's profitable. And that's most likely why Ford announced that they would make a limited number. You know, they were like, oh, we're going to start with 50,000 Mach E's and then go from there. But Tesla doesn't do that. They're just like, oh, order as many as you want and we'll eventually find a way to build them. Whereas other EV companies are like, we're sold out, not taking any more orders right now because, for one, their supply chains are constrained, and for two, they're not super profitable right now. So they're just toying around with EVs to let consumers know we know how to make them and we have experience with electric vehicles, but it's not a super profitable business model. And in those automakers, if you look at 2020, they pretty much every car company in 2020 lost money. Like, they're all in trouble when it comes to finances in 2020. And all of their automotive sales decreased. Tesla was like the one automaker in 2020 that actually was profitable and increased from year over year. So they can do that because of their vertical integration. Whereas if Apple wanted to make their own car, Apple's not a very vertically integrated company when it comes to mass production. They like being vertically integrated with their design. You know, they want to design their own chips. They want to design the hardware. They want to design the software. So Apple's ownership is all kind of surrounded the design aspects of things. But when it comes to mass production, that's something they outsource. You know, Samsung builds Apple's displays. They build a lot of their SSDs. They build Apple buys their batteries from other companies. Apple doesn't own their own factories, right? Like, Apple outsources all that production. So if that's any indication of how Apple would treat the Apple car, they would likely want to have very, very thick, healthy profit margins on it. And basically, this whole side tangent is to tell you I think the Apple car would be expensive. If Apple was to make a car, it would most likely be similar to something like the Lucid Air, like a 6-figure luxury sedan with really good range and really fancy build quality, and it feels like, you know, super rich guy fast car, but it'll be well over $100,000. So I have no interest in paying in any car, Tesla or not, that's over $100,000. It's just a stupid amount of money for me to spend on a vehicle used to transport people. You know, I don't care what it is, unless it's a semi. Of course, I would buy a Tesla semi, hands down. In fact, I'm a reservation holder. I reserved the Founders Edition Tesla semi, and I plan on selling my house and moving into. No, I'm kidding. But the Tesla semi is awesome, though. I think an unhealthy amount about this Tesla semi, to be honest with you guys. It's probably not okay how often I think about it, but the Lucid Air is cool. I actually, Mike, if he's still in the chat, yeah, there he is. He said he's excited for 500 plus range EVs. Yeah, me too. I met up with Mike a few months back, and we got to check out the Lucid Air showroom. So they actually have a few. They're not stores, but they're in malls, like they're next to Apple stores and that kind of thing, and they have prototype vehicles inside them that you can. They didn't let us get inside, but you can get pretty close, and the windows were down, so I stuck my phone in. I uploaded the footage to the B-roll channel, but yeah, I got to see it in person. It's a very good-looking car. It's very futuristic. It looks very luxurious and fancy on the inside. It's like a 5K display behind the steering wheel. It's like an interesting vehicle. I don't know if I would prefer it to a Tesla, though, even if it was price competitive with a Model S. I think I would just still prefer. I like Tesla's minimalism. I think that's just what I prefer about them. I prefer having one centered, simple display. Not that it's a lack of, some people call the Tesla interiors, lack of design or the boring design. I don't think it's a lack of design. I think it's just a style. Minimalism is a style. It's not a lack of style. It's just not complicated. Some people with luxurious, fancy cars want to have a bunch of little knobs and little dials and fancy options and clocks. And I think Lucid is still trying to kind of meet you halfway there. They're trying to have a lot of dials and tactile feedback while at the same time having a big display and a touch screen and all that. So they're kind of trying to do both, and it's a cool look. I'm not saying it looks bad. I just think personally I prefer more of a simplified look. I've checked out the Lucid Air, and I've been inside Model 3s and Model Ys. All the Teslas, I've been inside all of them at some point, and I just prefer the Tesla look. I don't know, something looks more iconic and recognizable to me. But if Apple were to make a car, I imagine it would be much, much more like a Lucid Air than it would be a Model 3. Apple could not start out with a car like a Model 3. It wouldn't be profitable. They would lose too much money on it. And I don't see them doing that. Neum says, am I the only one who doesn't want an Apple car? I'm tired of luxury Vs. I just want decent looking, non-ugly 20K, 350 mile range EVs. No, you're not the only one, Neum. I'm the same way. There's been lots of, that was, I support Lucid and I want them to succeed, but that was mainly my initial reaction to the Lucid Air event. When Lucid announced their vehicles and their cars and everything, I was like, okay, I mean, it's interesting, but it's kind of hard to get excited for, it's kind of pumped. It's kind of, Lucid is kind of proving a point we already know, which is why I'm not super excited about the Lucid. I mean, it's interesting, but it's hard to get excited for, like the same way you get excited for something like the Cybertruck or the 25K Tesla coming out in a few years and the Aptera. It's not like groundbreaking where it's like, ooh, this changes the game. We're in the EV space. We want to move more towards, like affordability and range getting better and that kind of thing. Whereas if Apple enters the automotive space and they're like, hey, we know how to make a $100,000 electric vehicle with really good range and specs, I'd be like, great, Apple. Yeah, you know how to make expensive products. Good job. It's like, it's the same thing as Apple, if they wanted to release a solid gold pair of AirPods Max that are $100,000. I know there's a luxury company that is selling those, but the gold headphones that are $100,000, it's like, cool. It's like, that's nice that they exist, but it doesn't really help anybody. And I think more people are interested in Apple or Tesla or other EV companies because they want to know that one day they can buy an EV or they can buy a futuristic car and that, make something for the masses instead of just rich people toys. It's fine to make rich people toys. There's nothing against that, and I can be excited for it. Things like the Lucid Air having a 517 mile range. That's awesome. That's really cool. And finding out about the Plaid Model S that can go 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. It's like, wow, that's really cool. But what about the rest of us? That's kind of how I feel about the what's it called? Pro Display XDR. It was so bad I blocked it out of my memory. Yeah, the Pro Display XDR is just like, okay, it's really great for people who are willing to spend $6,000 on a monitor, but most of us don't. So can you make something just a little bit more achievable? I don't know. Let's see. Sorry, I think some people donated earlier. Was it Neum? Neum, thank you for the bits. Oh, I answered that one. Sorry. Yeah, the 20K. I'm with you there. I want cheaper EVs more than anything. I don't need more. We don't need more six-figure EVs. Let me just put it that way. 20 bits, you said. I thought I'd let you know since you do YouTube. Google came out with a new feature where YouTube will automatically take a portion of your paycheck and give it to the IRS every month. Really? I thought they've had that for a while. I've seen that checkbox in the AdSense settings for a while. I didn't know that. Was that just added? Or am I missing something? Okay, I think I'm caught up. Why didn't Tesla just make Giga Nevada bigger instead of building a new factory? Yeah, there's a lot of people asking that. There's a few answers out there, Vinny. For one, it's because they couldn't get enough people to move out there. So they wanted they wanted to make Giga Nevada larger, but they they were having a hard time getting enough employees out there. It was just generally in a place that was kind of awkwardly spaced away from anywhere else, to the point that, um, due to just sheer manpower, they were like, "No, we can't expand the factory as much as we want because there's not enough people. Like, we can't hire enough people, and we can't get enough people to move out in Nevada," which is one of the reasons they chose Austin for Giga Texas, was because they were trying to pick a location that a lot of Tesla employees would be comfortable moving to. So there were a lot of people at the factory that said that they would be up for moving to Austin, but not Nevada. So it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. That's part of the problem. Um, so I think there's other issues. There might be supply chain bottlenecks with it as well. But yeah, I know they didn't build out Giga Nevada to be as big as they wanted, but they have a bit more experience with building gigafactories now. And I think they've discovered that it makes more sense to build batteries at the factory, which they're now doing at Shanghai, instead of building a separate facility just for batteries and then a separate facility just for cars, which is what they were doing with Fremont, Nevada. So hopefully they've learned their lesson. Um, I hope MKBHD makes a Lucid Air review when it comes out. I'm sure he's on the list. He's on the big list of people to get Lucid Airs for YouTube videos. The government should subsidize EVs and offer a bunch of perks, like not have to pay parking or tolls. Norway did this, and now half of new cars sold their EV. Yeah, it's a bit easier for Norway to do that because it's, significantly less people than in America. But no, I generally agree with you. There are a lot of subsidies. What do you call it? Federal tax credits are available for most EVs. They were only available in a limited amount for Tesla, so they kind of ran through all of theirs. So there's no more federal tax credit for EVs for Teslas anymore. There's still federal tax credits for pretty much any electric vehicle outside of Tesla. So the Ford Mach E, you can get $7,500 off. VW ID4, you can get $7,500 off. And that's just at the federal level. There's still a bunch of state rebates for EVs that are still in place for Teslas. So depending on where you live in California, you can get anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 back off of state tax and that kind of thing. So it is being done, maybe not to the same, not to the extent you want it to be done. And I could agree there, like, can we afford to give EVs a break, and can we afford not to? That's it. That's the big question. But yeah, the thing is, Tesla's doing fine without the rebates. They're still having record sales, and they're most likely going to hit 500,000 vehicles delivered by the end of 2020. So the problem is Tesla can't build them fast enough. That's the main problem. It's not necessarily that they don't have enough tax credits to go along with them. Let's see. Austin is awesome. It's basically San Francisco, but in Texas. I think with more reasonable real estate pricing, yeah. I've heard lots of great things about Austin. The one thing I don't like about Texas is the higher property tax rate. Though it's probably fair given the value of the properties are a lot lower than California, but yeah. When do you think electric cars will fully take over and gas cars will stop being produced? I'm thinking 2040. Yeah, I think sooner than most would think. It's a very small percentage of the automotive market right now, but I think what we're going to see with electric vehicles is kind of an S-curve adoption rate, which means it just exponentially gets faster and faster and faster, and before you know it, things speed up during that peak of the S-curve, and we're not quite in the peak yet. It's like, once we start reaching the point of electric vehicles becoming not just operational costs, but like they reach price parity with gas cars, and they're still compelling and they have good range. And I think we're going to hit that around 2025, 2026 is when Tesla is going to have, a 25K version of their vehicle that can still go 300 miles on a charge. They talked about it at Battery Day. I believe them. I think they'll reach that. And I'm sure other companies will follow up with them. They might not do it as profitably, and they might not have as great autonomy features, but in time, if Tesla's there by 2025, probably sooner, then that means VW, Ford, Toyota, hopefully Toyota, they seem a little bit asleep at the wheel at the moment. But other automakers will be either using the same manufacturing techniques with batteries and cells and structural. Why am I getting lag? What's going on? Is the Wi-Fi upset? I don't know. It was weird. I just saw frame drops for no reason. There it goes again. I'll just pause the Twitch stream. Hopefully that'll help. If by 2027, 2028, we get to the point where other companies outside of Tesla are able to make electric vehicles that can still go really far on a charge. And something I disagree with a little bit with MKBHD, because he just did a video on electric cars. And in general, it was well done. I agree with most of what he said. But one point I think he was missing was that he just kept saying that EVs have to get as good as range as gas cars to become the future. I don't actually agree with that. I think that they can become the future with less range than gas cars, because not all range is created equal. Marquez was looking at range in EVs primarily as if everybody road trips every day, which isn't true. Most people aren't road tripping. And you also should take into factor that the average, at least in America, it may be different in other countries, but in the United States, the average daily driving habit for an American is like 30 miles. That's how much most of us are driving a day on average. Some of us drive more, some of us drive less. So my point is, even if we double or triple that, even if we say, okay, most people drive 90 miles a day. Let's just say that's the average. It isn't, but let's just say it is. 90 miles a day. The thing is, a large majority of EV owners can charge from home. Not everyone can. I understand that. Some people live in apartments and some people park on the street and they can't charge their car. But if we look at, in the United States, how many people live in single family homes versus apartments, then there's a significantly larger number of people that just live at home, drive to work, get groceries and come back, and they can charge from home. And that covers daily driving habits. And the only time you really need to access a charge station is when you go on a road trip. And Marquez didn't bring that up. I'm not sure why. Maybe he doesn't charge. Maybe he doesn't charge at home because he lives in New York City. I don't know. But that's more for the heavy populated areas that can't do that. And I think in time, as the UK is already doing this, we'll be able to install charging stations and charge points at apartment parking lots, and on-street parking will have charge stations as well. But it just felt weird to me that Marquez didn't bring that up at all, considering it's a very large majority for a lot of countries that you can just charge from home. Like, most of the data being collected on EV owners right now is pointing that around 75 to 80% of EV charging is done at home, not at the charge station. And I don't mean to be critical of Marquez, because I think he's a great YouTuber and I think he's admirable, and I bet more YouTubers want to be more like Marquez, and I'm one of them. I've looked up to him. I've been watching him for a long time, but I think it's very, very important for influencers and content creators to be very vocal about the fact that range in an EV is not exactly the same as range in a gas car, because range from an EV is from your house, at least for most people. If you don't have a house, okay, it's a different story. But the range of the EV is from the garage, from the outlet, whereas the range of your gas car is from the pump. There's almost nobody who can fill up their gas car from home. That's probably less than 1% of drivers that actually have gasoline at their house that they can pump. It's not really a thing. And it's also an inconvenience, because like someone like me who still has a gas car, the range of my gas car is not 400 miles every time I leave the house. So saying that a gas car goes 400 miles, electric car goes 200 miles, gas car goes further, it's better, is not necessarily true. It's a bit more complicated than that, because if I don't fill up my gas car for a few weeks, it's sitting right there with a range of 80 miles because I haven't gone to the gas station yet, and it's going to continue to have a range of 80 miles for as long as I delay that errand. Until I go back to the gas station, that range is going to be sub 100, right? Whereas with an electric car, I would not have to think about that. With an electric car, I can leave the house with an 80 to 90% charge. If you want to make it 100, you can, every day because it's plugged in, charging overnight. If you're going on road trips, yeah, then it becomes a bit more similar to gas cars. But I don't think road trips are the norm for everybody. I think road trips are the exception. That's like the 10% of driving, whereas the day-to-day commute, that's like the 90% of driving. So I think YouTubers and EV owners as a whole, and even as someone who's not an EV owner, I think we need to. There's a lot of misinformation out there about electric vehicles. That's what's sad to me. Is I see it on Twitter and I see it on Discord. I see it all the time. There's a lot of people that just don't think these things through, and they oversimplify the transition. And they just think, oh, EV means I go to the charge station instead of the gas station. And since the charge station is slow and the EV range is lower, it's not ready yet. EVs are bad. I'm not ready for an EV. And people just oversimplify the argument in their head like that without thinking, wait a minute, did you think for a second that you won't have to run an errand to go to the gas station, and instead you can just wake up with a full tank every day? Because you can't do that with your gas car. There's not like a slow trickle of gas available in our garages, whereas that slow trickle of electricity is available for the majority of homes. Not all, but most. And if more people can think like that, they can realize you don't need a 400-mile range EV for 90% of circumstances. Sure, that maybe last 10 to 5% could use that extra range, whether it's a colder climate or you doing lots of road trips. It makes a bigger difference, I'm sure. But I don't think that's. I don't know. It deserves at least a preface, in my opinion. It should be mentioned. I don't think we should gloss over that point because there's a lot of people who don't think about it that way. I've run into them in my personal life. There's a lot of people that are just like, yep, EVs, once they get the range that is as good as a gas car, then, and for the same price, then they can replace. You know, Marquez didn't even bring up in his video like the cost savings, which I feel like also should be a huge, like, no one just buys a gas car and gets free gas for 10 years. That's not a thing. Like, the price of that car is a lot higher than it looks if you're looking at how much it costs to drive it. So if we're talking about EV transition and moving towards electric vehicles, we should also take in the factors and the benefits that come along with them, not just ignore all that and try to figure out how it fits best in our gas car world. I'd love to get up in the morning and jump into a warm car rather than be cold and wait for the heaters to get working. Yeah, same, Simon. Exactly. There's all kinds of benefits with EVs that, I don't know, I feel like not enough people make well known. And Marquez is a very large, influential creator that I hope can bring up those benefits more often than just gloss over them and say range isn't as good, needs better range. People don't even really think about range with gas cars. It's not even brought up in commercials or when people buy new cars. You're buying a new Toyota Camry, no one's like, how far can it go on a single tank? It's like not really a thing. Well, people said Tesla just hit a all-time high. Really, what are they at? 694. Is that an all-time? I thought they hit 695. They hit 696 today? Whoa. That is an all-time high. Cool. Brian Ladius says my first car, Byron, sorry. My first car will be the 25K Tesla. Nice. That's probably a good one. Let's see. NG recently passed a $5,000 tax credit on EVs. Nice. That's good. Tax credits are nice, but I normally don't like when companies try to show you the price with the tax credit included. Like, because the tax credit is extra work on your part. It's not like they just deduct that from when you purchase the car. Like, this is oversimplifying things a little bit. But if you're buying an EV and it's going to cost you $50,000 and there's a $5,000 tax credit on it, it's not like when you buy the car, it suddenly becomes $45,000. You still have to pay the $50,000. You just have to go and file for the tax credit, and then you get that taken off your taxes. So I don't like it when they lower the purchase price and say, well, it's actually this much if you take into consideration all this. It's like, well, no. I'll do the cost of ownership math. You just tell me what the bill is going to be. But companies are getting a little bit better at that. So all time takes into account the stock split. Yeah, it does. Oh yeah, no, everything takes into account the stock split. Yeah. Yeah, I got a big paragraph here from Michael B underscore 72. A lot of Michaels in my audience for some reason. This is off topic and is going to be personal. I have two sisters, grew up knowing how to interact with girls and how to be friends with girls. I have never had a guy friend in my life. With that being said, I honestly feel like I could talk to you without being weird. All your videos, Twitch streams feel like a conversation that I get a couple times a week. I just wanted to say thank you. You have helped me without you knowing. Once again, thank you, Drew. Oh, thank you, Michael. That's very nice of you to say. It's like a very one-sided conversation. Yeah. It's like I say everything and you just listen. Yeah. I'm glad they've helped you out. I have two sisters too. That's funny. That's the both of us. Pumping gas is really easy. Unlock the fuel cap, pump the nozzle in it, pull the trigger, wait for it to stop, pull the nozzle out, lock the cap. No, Katrina, you know it's not that deep. You're completely ignoring how you pay for it. Maybe in Oregon you don't have to worry about that because in Oregon everybody has to pump your gas for you. But at least where I am, you got to pay for that gas. So it means you drive up to the gas pump. Hopefully there's a pump available. You get out of the car. You pop the fuel cap. Well, there's usually a lid. It's usually like I have to press a button on my car. The lid that's part of the car body pops off. Then you have to open that, unplug the actual fuel cap. Then I got to slide my debit card into the gas pump, and it asks me to enter my billing zip code. So I enter the billing zip code, and then it asks me, do I want a receipt or do I want a car wash? And I say, no. And then it asks me to select what type of fuel I want. So I have to pull the pump, take the pump out of the thing, press the fuel type I want, then put it in the fuel thing at the nozzle on my car. Then I got to pump the lever on it just the right way so I can prop it up and it keeps pumping gas in. Then I wait a few minutes and I watch the price go up to $50, $60 or however insanely high it gets. And then afterwards, I spill some gas on the car in my shoes and then I put it back in the pump. And then I got to put the fuel cap back on and then close the lid. It's a lot more, I think it's very complicated compared to Tesla supercharging, which I have done, where all you do is back into the stall, you get out of the car, you grab the electrical plug, you point it at the brake light automatically opens all by itself, you slide the pump in, it starts charging, and then you're done. In my opinion, it's a lot less steps, and for two, it's a lot cheaper than gas. In the UK, you enter the PIN for bank card, you select green nozzle for petrol or black nozzle for diesel. We have 3 here, but I've always chose unleaded. Imagine having to pump gas yourself. This post is made by Oregon Gang. Yeah. Maybe replaceable car batteries be more practical in the future. Charging stations could take too much space and or charging speed to reach a limit. NIO is already doing that in China. They make replaceable car batteries, but Tesla messed around with it with the Model S and they realized people didn't want it very much. And it's also a lot more expensive to put up battery swapping stations than it is putting up a charge station. And with Tesla's batteries becoming structural with 4680 cells, I don't think it's going to be more. I don't think batteries are going to become more replaceable. They're just going to have more longevity. Like they'll last a really, really long time, and they'll still have good range and very little degradation. So, New Jersey says, roll up, pay, leave. Hey, fill it up regular, then I wait. That requires interacting with a human being, so I consider it significantly worse. Do you have to tip the guy who pumps the gas? I haven't been in Oregon in a long time. And I haven't been in New Jersey ever. Do you have to tip him? Because that would just annoy me. Having to pay someone to do something I could just do myself. Doesn't California have smart gas stations with Alexa implementation? I haven't seen that. There's probably like 2 of them. You guys don't tip? Well, that's good. But I imagine if you're paying a guy to pump gas out there, it's going to probably increase your gas prices. Either way, it's too expensive. Don't like it. Too much. UK struggles trying to stop the pump at whole pounds because we can't afford to just fill the tank at around 80 to 100 pounds. Get Walmart UK gas stations often don't have any staff. I don't want to talk to a person. I just want a robot to do it. That's the future. The snake charger. Mike says, "What are some of your goals for 2021?" It's probably a good question. I should have some. Probably want to lose some more weight. I've been running. I'm already kind of getting into my New Year's resolution habits. I've been going on more runs. Been trying to work out more. Probably keep our food budget pretty low. We're shooting for $200 a month. That's a good goal. Keep our investments up, trying to invest as much as we can. The person pumping your gas already gets a salary. Yeah, but same logic applies to a lot of positions that collect tips. But who's paying for that? Is it incorporated into the gas? Justine has a video on it. Of course she does. I would not want to use Alexa to pay for gas. She would probably end up charging me twice as much. No, thank you. Yeah, if Justine did a video on it, there's probably like 2 gas stations. Invest mostly in higher dividend index funds, not individual stocks. We invest in all the stocks. It's been going well so far. I tip at like restaurants, but that's about it. I'm trying to think of where else you can tip. Though I haven't gone to restaurants in a while. Man, that's a good question though. Life goals. What are some goals for 2021? I guess they don't have to be life goals. I don't even need to grow the channel very much. I'm kind of happy with the size of the YouTube channels as they are. That's an easy goal. Just be like, hit 300,000 subscribers. It's like, okay, what are you going to do? What do we do differently now? Please subscribe because I want to hit this arbitrary goal. Barber takes tips. Oh, I guess he does. I don't get my hair cut at the barber, though. My wife cuts my hair and trims my beard. We still have traditional banks. We have not made the switch to mobile banking, sadly. Consider this. You don't have to stand in the cold. Consider this. Countable Newt. I live in California. It's never cold. The coldest it gets here is like 40 degrees probably. Sorry I broke you, True. I don't know. My wife was asking me this the other day. It's like, what goals do I have? What should I have? Why don't you guys tell me? I'll take suggestions. What goals should I have? You guys are probably all going to tell me to sign up for Fitness Plus and look like I did 3 years ago. It's not happening, guys. I'm sorry. Skinny Drew is behind us. I'm sorry. Traditional banks are better than online only banks. Really? I have a few friends with mobile banks. There's some nice perks about them, but some downsides, like not having a facility you can actually go to. Can we talk about next iPhones? There's nothing. They might have Touch ID. What else do you want? I've been warning you all for a while now. There's going to be a very, very boring year of iPhones this year, next year. So, yeah. What else? What else is there? The camera might get slightly better. I need suggestions. Get swole. Okay, I like that one. By the end of 2021, I want to be swole. Bring my pants up to my belly button like Swolo Ren and hold my arms out like this. iPhone 13 comes with Windows. No! Not the Apple Car memes. Buy Google hardware? You know I use Google hardware on the daily, right? Your goal should be to invest in an airplane hangar so you and the podcast gang can start filming content for Taylosive Plus. Okay, there's an interesting one. Invest in an airplane hangar. I like it. Is Twitch stalking me or what? Just saw you replay under the MKBHD hiring tweet, and now I get you in my recommended channels on Twitch. Thank you, CB. I am hacking you. Have you ever jailbroken an iPhone? No, but I've had friends that did it, and I have no interest in it. I've seen what they can do. It's not very interesting. More Taylosive Food Talks videos, maybe a return for gaming, more guests on the podcast, exploring different tech devices and comparing it to Apple, test driving a Lucid Tesla. Well, I've done the Tesla thing. I don't know if you can test drive a Lucid, but okay. Just more videos. That's kind of an in general goal, but yeah, that's a good one for 2021. I don't have many plans for gaming. I don't know what I could do. Taylosive Plus. This is your idea. What should I do in 2021? You should come up with content that you put behind a paywall, Drew, and we'll pay you for it. You guys don't like money very much, do you? Oh, geez. UK banks let you pay in checks by taking a photo of it with your phone. You can do that here, I think. Can you not? You should start a new section or YouTube channel about daily news in the world and stuff. Oh, that just sounds depressing. Daily news in the world. Oof, I don't know. Bring back the Taylosive app. That sadly is not up to me. I know I kind of created the whole Taylosive thing, but it's kind of up to the devs. I would like to have digital driver's licenses. Not a requirement. I'm not saying that everyone would have to have a phone, but I'm saying that if you get pulled over, you can present a digital license to the officer if you need to, and it would count. Whereas like right now, a lot of the reason I have to carry my wallet around with me is because you do need to have a physical driver's license if you get pulled over. So you're supposed to just always have that on you when driving a vehicle. Whereas if they let you digitize it, I wouldn't have to. However, if you put it on your phone and then your phone died, that would be on you. It would be your responsibility. You wouldn't be able to say, well, I do have a license, but it's on my phone and my phone's dead. Like, they wouldn't let you get away with that. But it would be your responsibility to make sure your phone is charged, and they could have a little code on there that the cop could scan and verify your account and everything. Anyway, I got to get going. But thank you all for watching and all for the bits, and enjoy the new tech video. Should be up by now. But anyways, thanks all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.